I'm Kim Meller, just a girl who decided to go for it. For the past 7 years, I've taken one step every day in the direction of my dreams to become who I am today. A former model turned spirit junkie and lifestyle entrepreneur who is on a mission to help you make shifts in your development. Each week, I'll bring you a guest, inspiration, or tools to help you dig deep within your soul and discover that magic within you. Are you ready to step into the person you were born to become? This is the Soul Digger Podcast. Hello, Soul Diggers! Welcome to another episode with me, your host, Kim Meller, and one of my favourite guests that I've had on the show ever, my good friend and personal astrologer, Sudevi Kramer. Hi, Sudevi.
Good morning or evening for you, wherever you are.
Who knows what time of day it is? I've lost track. There is so much going on with the energy and the planets and the universe right now. I just had to get you on to explain to everyone what is happening in the world. So we're just going to be kind of asking a few questions about what's happening and why it's important. So if this is your first exposure into astrology, my biggest advice would just be to be open-minded. You know, you're listening to this podcast for a reason. There are no coincidences. The fact that you're listening to this particular episode on this particular day means that it's been sent to you. So just trust that there is no coincidences. There's going to be something in here for you. So Sudevi, welcome to the show again. It's been a pleasure having you on the show, always, always.
I love being here. It's so much fun. And yeah.
Oh,
amazing. I love
it. Okay, so let's start with, what is this great conjunction? What is it and why is it happening?
Oh, now why is it a big question? Let's start with one thing at a time. It is the meeting of Saturn and Jupiter. It hasn't happened for over 400 years, okay, this particular alignment. And some people say it's like the Christmas star, because what happens is at 0 degrees Aquarius, and it's just a mathematical point, you know, where we can identify where these things are in the sky and the constellations. They're like right on top of each other. Okay. So it almost makes like a cross. And so we see that beautiful, light burst up in the sky. It's like the North Star, you know, going back many years ago, you know, the 3 wise men, they were guided by the star. So it's happening on the solstice when we bring that energy when it's the shortest day of the year. What do we want more of? We want more light. What are the traditions that we celebrate often with the solstice? Like in some countries, they'll take a log and they'll burn it for 12 days before Christmas. Or in cultures that perhaps Christmas isn't celebrated, they're celebrating the sun. So in all cultures, in all human languages, we're looking for more light. So there's some nice things that you could do to celebrate this light. It's also, this star, these planets are so bright, they're so visible, you don't even need a telescope. So you can just go out in the night sky and see them. Wow. But we haven't had them for over 400 years, so it's kind of a big deal.
Wow. Okay, so just to break it down for anyone who's really new to this. So the 21st, which is Monday, is the Summer Solstice. Is that correct?
Winter.
Winter Solstice. Well, it's summer. I'm in Bali. Every day is summer. So what exactly is the Winter Solstice?
I'm in Florida, and it's cold, Northwest Florida, and it's cold. I have a jacket on. What you say? That's the weather patterns of the world right now.
I love it. So what actually is the Winter Solstice?
Well, the Winter Solstice is actually it's actually the shortest day of the year. I mean, mathematically speaking, we have the least amount of light. So we have the longest winter, we have the longest night. And so we're welcoming the light. It's a ceremony to after this day, there's more light available. And I think this is really highlighted with the configuration in this, the grand conjunction. And so just from the point of solstice alone, before we bring in the astrology, it's a time every year that we celebrate light and we let go. It's kind of almost like a New Year's kind of thing. We let go of the past and we bring in the good things. The fact that we're having this grand conjunction, which are the planets associated with social change. They're outer planets, meaning it takes them longer to get to their position. So it took them for a very, very long time to come back to this position, like over 400 years to come back to this position. They're outer planets, but they bring social change. So we have, Saturn. Well, actually, Saturn stays in a sign like 2.5 years, and then we have Jupiter. But to have them line up like this, that's what we don't normally have. Their orbits have intersected. And Saturn is about structure and Jupiter is about expansion. And they've been in Earth signs, they've been in Capricorn. So we've had all these rules. Like if you want to look at this globally, we've had the lockdown. For example, you and Gina got out of the UK quickly into Bali on the last day that you could. That's Saturn, okay? But your Uranian nature as an Aquarius, you escaped, okay? And that is what's happening. We're going from structure and rules to being free of those rules, of finding a way to expand. I mean, that's the astrology of it. And if you're new to astrology, think about Jupiter as beliefs that you've held. Think about it as expansion. And so Saturn is, again, structure, time, karma, rules, moving out of Earth. Both of these things were in Earth signs, and Earth is stable. I mean, we need foundation, but Saturn in its home sign of Capricorn, which is where it's been, is super restrictive. Wear your mask, stay home. We're giving you the vaccination, whether you want it or not. And what's happening when Saturn, the rules, goes from Earth into Uranian energy, into Aquarius, which is ruled by Uranus. Uranus is like, expect the unexpected, break through Earth, to break through rules and restrictions, and be innovative, find new solutions. Like Saturn follows the rules because they're the rules. Uranus questions the rules. So we are going from a time in the world where we're just accepting things because that's the way it is, or someone told us. And so we're going into a time of questioning, and we're saying, well, why? And is there a better way? Is there a better way? A classic example is no one could have planned how their 2020 was. I mean, none of us, knew how that was going to play out because we just didn't. And so that's the way Uranus is. And so now you have big innovation, big surprises, things going a different way, not necessarily a bad way. It's just that we have to be change skilled and keep our focus on the light. Why this is so important that this conjunction is on the solstice is it's in alignment with the galactic center, which is an opportunity to raise our energy, our frequency, and the energies in the world are quicker, they're faster. And this particular day hallmarks an entry into a whole new era. For those of you who, for example, follow like the law of attraction, you've watched maybe The Secret, or maybe you know who Abraham Hicks and Esther are, or maybe you don't. It really doesn't matter. Whatever you're focusing on happens faster. So that might be something that you're noticing. And so being positive and keeping your eyes on that grand conjunction or your personal North Star is more important than before, because you can still backlash into the way things used to be. We look at, for example, Uranus rules Aquarius. So now we got Jupiter, which expands it. So this is big. It's expanding our structure and our solutions. But we have to look at where Uranus is. Well, guess what? It's sitting in Taurus. Taurus is all about the rules, the monetary system, doing what you're supposed to do. And Uranus is having a personal revolution over here. So a lot of people think, yay, yippee, we're free. It's we're in the, it's the solstice. This is the age of Aquarius. It's all going to be peace and love from here on out. That's going to be a personal choice. And of course, obviously, I want, and I know you do too, Kim, for people to choose the peace and love. But we still have this little revolution over here. Taurus doesn't give up its ground very easily. So there's going to be some resistance for us to follow the rules and do things the way we've always done. And even though we had the stellium in Earth in Capricorn, and even though Jupiter and Saturn are free of that and they're helping free us with innovative solutions, we still have Pluto that's staying in Capricorn. And Pluto was discovered the same year that they discovered plutonium. So just think of, and transformation. And also Pluto can be viruses, can also be the soul. So it's this huge transformative energy, and it's still in Capricorn. And so that says we're not home, we're not just immediately going into this utopian society. A lot of, people think that we are. There's still work to be done. We're still part of like an internal revolution. I don't want to go out and say, oh, we're going to have war with other countries. Our wars may be kind of like the Bhagavad Gita. It may be internal, like, can I really accept this good that's out here? Or am I going to fall back into my, structured way of thinking? So it's almost like, Henry Ford said many, many years ago, before any of us were around, if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. So there's going to be, as we move into this new era, or as what Eckhart Tolle would say, the new Earth, it's a choice. You can ascend, you can achieve, you can create, you can manifest. And then there will be an entire group over here that are still stuck in the Earth of Capricorn, and Pluto is still in Capricorn. And they're going to say, no, you can't. And so there's going to be this, and we see it all the time. Like, for example, some people want the vaccine. Some people are really adamantly opposed to the vaccine. And so it's that's the conflict, that's the war, and that we're going to see that going forward. Wear your mask, don't wear your mask, that kind of thing.
Just to touch on that, I can really feel that. I can really feel that the people that are listening to this podcast are searching for this information. And so if you are listening to this, you are the people that are going to rise and elevate your vibration. But then I literally can speak to some of my family or acquaintances, and they're so stuck in this place of fear. They're watching the news, and like, the only way out of this is for us to get the vaccine. We can't wait till we get the vaccine, because then it's all going to be over. And it's like, no, it's so completely opposite, isn't it?
It is. And we don't know I'm not telling people to take the vaccine or not take the vaccine. I'm saying that there is a choice. And we really, if you want to look at history for any vaccines, going way back, let's go all the way back to, and I'm sure most listeners weren't around for the swine flu, but you've probably read about it. And when that vaccine came out, it was such a big to-do, the swine flu, which was another flu that I guess was bovine based or something, like literally, from pigs or some swine. And I'm not an expert on what that flu was by any means, but what I did read was that in the early batches of the vaccine, and I'm not trying to create fear, was that some people were paralyzed. Some people had no problems with the vaccine, and some people had adverse reactions. And I think with any vaccine, that's always been the case. And, so this vaccine isn't going to be any different. Some people, I would guess, and I'm not a scientist by any stretch of the imagination, I'm just looking at history. And astrology, of course, looks at the history of things, what's happened in the past. And so in the past, some people have been okay from vaccines and some people have, been not okay. And if you roll out something really fast before you can really do clinical trials, obviously, I think even a scientist would tell you there's going to be some reactions, there's going to be some errors. It depends on your immune system. How do you know whether you're that person or not? The other thing is, if the vaccine is, they really don't know, in my opinion, and this is only my opinion, it's not based on any fact. I want to be clear about that. But if they really knew, why does everyone still have to wear their masks? So you take the vaccine and you still have to wear your mask. And of course, when I go into places, especially with elderly or people who are fearful, I'm going to, out of respect, I'm going to wear my mask because I don't want to, instill fear in anyone. I want to be respectful. But my Aquarian side, and I have some Aquarian planets too, and so I'm, of course, excited as we go into this new age, is a little bit rebellious about that. And I'm just saying we really don't know. And so we'll just have to, it's an experiment. And this is the choices, that we are going to have going forward. But to think, and I've listened to other astrologers, and some of them think that we're home free. And I would just like to say that we are not home free because we still have Pluto in Capricorn. So it's still dealing with the Earth structure. And what's happening is we have a square. We have this beautiful light, up in the sky, but it's squaring Uranus in Taurus. And so what happens with a square is that it makes us uncomfortable. So you're going to have those two Earths, that polarity that's going to ask us to change. The other thing that's unique about this conjunction is it's all in air. So we're being asked, if you want to look at it as in terms of ascension, which is, raising our frequencies up, getting, spiritually rising, knowing that we are connected, that we are divine. God is not separate from us out there. We have that spark and we can access, we can connect into God. Like we do not have to go through something else to get there. We are connected. That's a lot of what, everyone probably has heard about the third eye. Well, it's the ajna connected to the pineal gland. And what happens, and one exercise, I'm jumping way ahead, but one thing I might recommend for everybody to do on the 21st is to have a white candle and do something called a Trot Meditation. And that means it's a Vedic practice from India, and it means meditation on light. And so you want to you could set that candle up on a counter or on a table. You want it eye length, and you want to stare into the flame. If you're wearing contacts, take off your contacts. Glasses are fine, but you want to stare into that candle without, blinking until your eyes water. And then you're going to close your eyes and you're going to see an after image. And this practice allows more light into your brain. And in India, they often did this, for the babies. They put little candles in their room for them to focus on, but it also blossoms the pineal gland and expands Ajna chakra, or what we might refer to as the third eye. How interesting that it's light, but it's our gateway so that we're not separate from the divine. It's our passageway to connect in. And so I think a wonderful, wonderful practice for bringing in more light on winter solstice would be to meditate on light itself. And if you continue to practice past the solstice, you'll open your third eye, and you'll, which just really means to connect in to something higher, to yourself, to not be separate from the divine. And the divine knows all things and sees all things. And so it's that merger. And so that's, to me, what this grand conjunction is. It's at, you can choose to stay earthbound. We always have that choice. We're on the earth, so we're trying, we do have that yin yang, that duality, or you can choose to merge into oneness. And what Aquarian and Uranian energies ask us to do is look at the collective, like we're all in this together. Okay, so this pandemic, or whatever this energy is from Pluto, and Pluto is also about power and control, is affecting us collectively as a society. And so we can go back into the chain of Capricorn, or we can be freed by Aquarian energy and Uranian energy and elevate up into the light. This is in air element, which is the first time we've had this conjunction in air element. The last time we had this conjunction, it was in earth. So it's marking a shift for us globally. And so we'll see more things from, we'll have more people will, I think Elon Musk is already exploring life on other planets in his own research. And we'll see more of that. And we'll probably make more space trips. Maybe they'll come here, or if they're here, will reveal themselves. We'll have more interaction. We'll realize it's not just being united on the earth. I think in the next 10 years, we're going to realize that we need to be unified as a galaxy. And I'm certainly not predicting war, but say something like that happened because of egos, whatever, struggles for power. Historically, on this planet, we've had those things. If we start getting nuclear, then we could affect the orbit of another planet. So they may want to come talk to us about that. And historically, if you look to Atlantis and other things, what happens historically, and we find the ruins in the Mayan jungles and things like that, is that we reach a certain level of technology, levels beyond what we've even mastered in this particular era. And then something happens, someone gets crazy, and we blow ourselves up. And then we start all over again. And so this, in my mind, this conjunction is an opportunity for us to be guided by the light. And hey, let's not do that. It didn't work out so well last time. Why don't we choose the light, and why don't we all unify? Can't we all live together? Isn't there enough for all of us? Can't we share? That's what Jupiter, and that's what Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius, ruled by Uranus, is saying. But we can't forget that square back. Uranus will stay in a sign for like 7 years. And think of, and 7, of course, is a mystical healing number. And it brings change, it brings a revolution, it brings the unexpected. So it's still back here in Taurus. We still have Pluto in Capricorn. So we're not home free, but we have some major power on our side. But we don't want to have a revolution for the sake of a revolution. And Uranian energy is all about stirring things up and shaking it. So we're going to have a shakedown in society. We could have inner wars within families. There's already You see it in politics. You have the people wearing the mask versus the people not wearing the mask. So yeah, we're having, it's a revolution, guys.
Okay, there's a lot to digest here in this information. I am absolutely loving it. But let's just really dissect what you're saying here. So there's going to be a lot of polarity. So the people that are wanting to rise will rise. The people that want to stay on the earth, stay on the earth. And this is all to help us to elevate to this next dimension, isn't it? So could you explain what this fifth dimension is and what it's going to allow us to do as humans?
Oh, well, it lets us realize that that these are just like these outer shells, which are fun. We take care of them, but it's going to help us realize that we're more than this. Like we're light beings, okay? We're literally light beings. And so what's happening is that we're being asked to shed the physical denseness, the earthness of Capricorn, and to raise our consciousness and our energy levels, and to develop something called a light body. Like the Egyptians called the sheath that we can't see unless we take a picture with infrared film, they called it the Ka. And so, and they would like travel around in their Kas, which is like their spaceships. And for those of you who study crystals or that kind of thing, or even sacred geometry, may have heard of a Merkaba. And so a Merkaba is like all these triangles. It's multiple ones. And if you want to go back to, for example, I know a lot of you have studied yoga, so you've probably heard Om. We all have heard Om to calm us. But the geometric shape Om takes is the Sri Yantra, which is two triangles. And they expand. It's not just two, but it starts with two, which is the upper and lower nature. So you have heaven, as above, so below, and it just expands. It's that Shiva Shakti, and it's all these triangles. And so it's that creative life force. And so that creative energy, the thing that created our bodies, created this physical world. But this physical world is not the thing that creates. So we're aligning with the energy, or the energy that creates. We're going back to that.
So how differently can people expect to feel? Because I literally was meditating yesterday and my hands were vibrating, and I've never experienced it in my life. And I was like, oh my God, my hands are buzzing. Like, why is that?
Because we're nothing but one big sound vibration. It doesn't matter how you look at it. Like if you want to look at it biblically, in the beginning, was the Word. It says that. The very first chapter of the Bible says, in the beginning was the Word. Well, people who studied more esoteric thought said in the beginning was the Word or sound, and it was Om or Amen. So the world was created out of sound vibration. So if you're meditating and everything is vibration, and you start vibrating, you are connecting with the source of creation. You and creation are one. So that's what's happening. It's a unification with creation. So when you feel the vibration, you're feeling the divine. Wow. So we're going closer to the divine. And if you start studying yogic thought, we fell away. We decided to come into experience. We wandered away from our divine source, and we got caught up in earth. It's almost like we fell to earth. We got caught up in dense matter. Okay. And so then we're finding the whole journey on earth is finding our way back to God or the divine. And many cultures have different names, different words, but we're all really saying the same thing. And that's what we're going to see. That's going to be our saving grace, is realizing that we really are one. We really do want to go back to our source, and we're all individual expressions of the one. So we wandered off, and then we're going to wander back together to unify, to reconnect with our light and to our source.
I love that.
And as we do that, we're learning that everything is possible. I know that for myself, and it's so good, that you're meditating, and I encourage everyone to meditate, is that manifestation is faster. And without even meaning to, you just think something and it happens. And so as we get away from the dense energies of Capricorn, we just hold the vision in our eye in the Uranian way, whether we know that we're doing it on purpose or not, and it happens. So we have to be very discerning about what experiences we want to create for ourselves, because if we haven't done our homework and we haven't dealt with any of that stuff that's still in Capricorn or Taurus, and it's not to say that Capricorn and Taurus are bad signs, I'm talking metaphorically about the heavy earth or the bondage, then we'll be creating negative experiences. So we're driving the spaceship, but we have to choose to go to the nice places, because we can still crash our spaceship to the not nice places. And so with all this freedom becomes responsibility, and we have to wake up and be aware. And so that we're making our choices. So we're not just randomly caught in the stream going somewhere, because all of these energies are really fast. Okay. So if you drift along, you could end up someplace that you didn't even mean to go. But if you're conscious and you're awake, and this era is also, think about it, you're sleeping and someone turns on the light, you wake up. So if you're awake, then you can see, you know where you want to go.
Yeah, and it's a perfect time of year, isn't it, to like reset your goals and, really co-create with the universe for 2021. We're coming towards the end of the year. It's the perfect time to really manifest exactly what it is that you want. And it's funny that you're talking about spaceships, because if I knew that a few years ago I'd be talking about Palladiums and aliens, I always thought I was crazy. But I am getting so many synchronicities and downloads and messages from Palladian energy, which for anyone who's listening is basically, aliens on different stars and different planets. But it just feels so right and so normal, and it's never felt like that before. Can you explain a bit about that?
Well, the Palladians are certainly they have been channeling messages to us for a long time, and they went away. We didn't really I wouldn't say they went away. Our connection became less for a while when we got mired in dense earth energy and we were highly destructive, like they weren't talking to us. And as we have started to expand and raise our vibration and become more peaceful, a lot of the messages are coming back in. And I think that if we look out into the galaxy, it would be very naive to think that just because they're aliens, that they're good or they're bad. It's just like on Earth, you have evolved souls and you have unevolved souls. There are people you wouldn't be afraid to meet in the dark alley. There's other people you don't want to meet in the alley. And I think that's the same way it is out there. And the Palladians are messengers of peace, love, and light, and they have mastered their mind. And I mean, they don't even have to use Arbonne, Kim. They just think themselves beautiful in the morning. They're like, oh.
They created Arbonne to wake us up. I
think they created it. Exactly.
I had this message a couple of days ago, and I was like, yeah, Arbonne was created to wake people up. And I do think it was created by Palladians.
Well, maybe, the products are really, really amazing. For sure. And they're visionary and ahead of their time. And Palladians are visionary. And they're also known for being beautiful, by the way.
Oh,
So,
well, we're happy with that. So could you ask another question for me? So could you explain to everyone, because this might be people's first exposure of astrology, so like the Aquarian age, like what is that and why is it so powerful?
well, the Aquarian age is liberation, and it's, peace and love, basically. If you want to think about, so the peace and the love and the care for your fellow man, so it's like no child is hungry, no one's left behind. It means that we're caring for each other and that the earth is our family. And it's harmony. And so that's what the age of Aquarius is. It's also anything that Aquarius rules is, for example, astrology, it's energy. It would be spaceships. It would be Zoom. It would be the internet. It would be any kind of galactic, any kind of galactic communication, any advanced technology. For example, a car that drives itself, and Tesla has that now. That's going to be Aquarian. That's going to be Uranian. Cosmic electricity, prana, life force. So one thing that I will say, though, is that Uranian energy is fixed, and it's probably good because it needs a container for all of that electric energy. So what we can see with the Jupiter and Saturn, which some people say is the beginning of the age of Aquarius, this grand junction, is that they're going to hold their position, like, no, we're not going back. Aquarians can be very stubborn. They can be very contrary. This is what I'm doing. And so this establishment and the light is like, we're not going backwards again. We've had different movements. If you want to look at history, we've had the, when there was the Vietnam War, I know in the States there was a lot of protesting, and unfortunately there's still a lot of homeless veterans from wars and things like that. So we've had these glimpses of, and people protested and said, we're not going to do it. So there's going to be like, we're not going to do it that way anymore. The 70s, same thing. So we've been seeing in each decade little uprisings, and so now the focus is kind of on the Middle East and, what's going to be, with China and that kind of thing. And so this is pivotal for us as a world to find a way to find peace. The age of Aquarius is the age of peace, so that we don't blow ourselves up like we did in Atlantis and other times, because there really are no winners in a war. And so we have to find a different way. And there could be some military, things happening with Pluto in Capricorn and some of the squares, because, this is about power. Okay, there's everything in the world, all these struggles, all wars are generally about resources and power, okay? And so regardless of the political whatever, if you really get down to it, it's about resources and power and who's controlling those, who has, who doesn't, who wants. Okay, the age of Aquarius says everybody has. Mm-hmm. It's not mine, it's ours. We're a global family. Mm. And that is the way that we can thrive. Because, for example, if we did have something military, for example, we've gotten so advanced or unadvanced that we can destroy ourselves, but then we're destroying the earth, and then we're polluting it. And it's naive to think it's not in our water, in our groundwaters. That's why we have cancers and things like that from all this radioactivity. So at some point there has to be we have to, as a world, say, we're not going to do this anymore. This is not working out well. We have to live together in peace and harmony, or there won't be a planet for any of us. And we could see some kind of escalation, because what happens when you have a square is it makes everybody so, and that's, that's a mathematical point, a square in astrology. And what it does is it creates so much discomfort that you have to find, a solution. It's going like this. And if you don't, then you have this. And so we're probably going to see some heightened things as we go into 2021, where we have to make some decisions and not respond the way that we have in the past. And what Aquarian energy is teaching us is, just because we always did it this way in Capricorn and followed the tradition, rules are great, but if the circumstances surrounding the rules change and you still keep the rules, then they're not so great. And Aquarius comes in and they kind of examine the rules and say, well, that's great, but that doesn't exist anymore. So why do we have rules surrounding it? Why are we still doing this when this problem is no longer here, whatever it happens to be? It's like, for example, say some governors or parliament leader, whoever in charge of your country, says that just because this epidemic was so bad, we're going to wear masks forever. Okay. But the epidemic is gone, but the rule is still in place to wear masks. Well, the old rule would be sort of a Capricorn Taurus thing, following a tradition. And then Uranus and Aquarius would say, well, there's no more pandemic. Why are we wearing our masks? Let's get rid of the masks. And that's just a little metaphor to show you. And that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be getting rules, getting rid of rules and structures that no longer make any sense. And
I love it. I'm all about the oneness and coming together and world peace. So I really have this hope that this is the right direction for world peace and the world just becoming one, because that's why we're here.
So. If we can all unify in our hearts and collectively focus on the light, we can bring it, we can create it together. We can the light always overcomes the darkness. And sometimes the darkness, rises up just before it gets extinguished. And so it may raise up a little bit, but I think what we have to remember is that one candle, will light an entire dark room. So we have to be that light. And so when you asked earlier about, what does this feel like, this whole process? It's like becoming light and passing that light on and sharing that light with your neighbor, your neighborhood, your community, your world, and living from your heart. So it's uniting. Like, if you want to look at things in terms of the chakra system, it's like we're like even going beyond the chakra system. We're just going up to the crown and up to the source of light itself. We're becoming that light.
We came for a time like this. Like, we're here.
Yes.
We chose the souls to be here for this time. It's one of the most exciting times, I believe, in history. And anyone who's listening to this, like, you are a light worker. This is come across your path for a reason, and you're here for this to help raise the vibration of the planet. Amazing. Sudevi, like, you are absolutely incredible. I could talk to you for literally hours and hours and hours, but just literally for the last couple of minutes, could you give everyone some tips on what they can do to really harness this energy and make the most of it before we go?
Again, I think that the meditation, Trot meditation on light, you can have a little tea light candle, and you can just hold it like 6 inches from the ajna. For those of you who don't know, is a space between your eyebrows. And so you're going to hold it from here, and you're just going to stare into the middle of it until your eyes water. And then you're going to set the candle down. Okay. Close your eyes and you'll see colors. You'll see after images. And that's normal. You're not tripping. That's always within you. And it's sort of rebalancing your body and reconnecting it to the light. And I would do that because it's going to open up your gateway to where you can hold more light. That would be one hands-on, tangible thing. And for those of you who are new new with meditation, that might be wonderful for your mind because it gives it something to focus on. The other thing I would say is be really discerning about like what thoughts that you let into your mind during these crazy times, because we can manifest our fears. So don't do that. Switch your radio station. Do something that makes you feel good. Do something that makes you happy. You know, dance, shake it off, whatever it happens to be. Have some method in place to change whatever is going on. Because if you're focusing on things that aren't positive, we can manifest those things too. And we don't want to do that. So we want to change the radio station so that whatever we're manifesting is powerful and happy and joyful and peaceful. And we can have that reality. We really can. So I would, you know, do all your feel-good practices. And that doesn't mean we don't roll up our sleeves and work and everything is just handed on us to us. I mean, we still have those things, but the good news is that we have the freedom to choose how we want to work. For example, many of us are working at home, or like Kim is working in ballet, you know, and she's still working hard, but she's having a great time. So we get to choose how we want to do things. That's that uranium freedom. Like the Earth Capricorn would go into the office every day. Now, you know, for example, we're having, you know, I'm in the States, she's in ballet. I want to be in ballet. Anyway, yeah, it's so, but it doesn't really matter. We're no longer bound by location. So that would be uranium freedom. Okay. And this isn't going away. And it's just going to become bigger. That's Jupiter. Jupiter expands things, and Saturn is structure. So structure is how we're doing things. You know, we have to agree, you know, to have a time and that kind of thing. So, you know, like we're going to meet at a certain time. I know it's not like it's a free for all. I mean, we still have structure, but we're changing what we're structuring and the actual medium of it. So it's earth to air basically. And one of the things, and I think almost all of you, even if you don't know that much about astrology, you've heard about Mercury Retrograde. Okay. All the retrogrades, there's 3 of them for the 2021, they're all in air signs, okay, before they were in Earth. So it's this big jumping place from Earth, which is more dense, it's heavy, to air. Like if I had Earth in my hand would be heavy. And then if I have air, you know, I can barely feel it. So that is the big thing that's happening. We're going from this Earth dense reality to this light air thing. And our very first Mercury retrograde is in none other than Aquarius. And so when we have Mercury retrograde, the planet of communication, it's going backwards, but it, you know, it's classically blamed for miscommunication and misflight and that kind of thing. So what's going to happen during this Mercury retrograde is Uranus is a planet that's known for being sudden or fast. So we've rolled out all this stuff really quickly. Okay, so during this Mercury retrograde in Aquarius, we'll be reintegrating and fine-tuning those changes. So this is really significant that the first retrograde of 2021 takes place in Aquarius to help us integrate this new electric Uranian cosmic energy. This is like we're majorly going into cosmic consciousness. Okay, and an example of how this might be, a retrograde is a chance to redo stuff. So what might happen is, say the vaccine's rolled out, and then they'll find things about it that they didn't know in Mercury retrograde and maybe refine it or change it or whatever. That could be a typical thing that could happen. Very realistic. I'll be surprised if it doesn't. And so retrogrades aren't necessarily bad, but I think this particular retrograde will be about adjusting our course, because Uranian energy just jumped. And so there's going to be a lot of this jumping and then going back and refining. So, yeah.
Amazing. Wow. My mind is blown. I don't think I'll sleep tonight. I'm going to be in the cosmos somewhere. Thank you so much for your time and your energy and your knowledge and your wisdom. And honestly, guys, if you're listening to this and some of it is going over your head like it is mine, just trust that it's going to start to sink in and make sense. So maybe listen to it over and over again. Keep following Sudevi, and she is just speaking so many words of wisdom. Like I'm so, every time I see you pop up, I'm like, oh my God, what's Sudevi got to say? So where can everyone follow you on social media before we go, and how can they find you?
Facebook, I do say, and I have an astrology group called Star Astrology on Facebook, and it's a group, and that's where I go into things like Kim and I are talking about, and I always have astrology articles on my Facebook, and I do have some on Instagram, just not quite as much, so there'll be more, but there'll still be some formats there on Instagram, maybe pictures of planets and what the conjunctions look like, because it's so visual. Maybe they could write in, maybe some, if anyone has any major questions, we could look at what they're talking about or what's confusing about this, and maybe we could in another podcast talk about those things, or expand on it.
It's a date. Yeah, and if anyone would like to get their chart done or their astrology chart done, I would highly recommend it. Sudevi is incredible for all of that as well. So thank you so much, Sudevi. I love and appreciate you so much. And until next time, Soul Diggers, see you then.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much for spending time with me today on another episode of the Soul Digger podcast. I am so excited to watch you step into the person you were born to become. Please do share this with a friend, tag me on social media, and help spread this message all around the world. And head over to iTunes, leave me a 5-star review. It really does help to know that I'm adding value to your life. So until next time, keep digging deep, because that magic is within you.